Welcome. This is David Boles, Human Meme. Today's topic, every 100 years, new people. In a previous Human Meme podcast, When All the Old Haunts Disappear, we discussed the idea that every century, every 100 years or so, we get all new people on the earth. And feedback on that particular mention in the podcast was positive. It was just a sliver of the show, but got a lot of results. The response was palpable, and some asked me to expand on the idea that we only live once, but die twice, every 100 years or so. Oh, and we previously mentioned here in this Human Meme podcast, we die once when our bodies die, and we die a second time when the last surviving person who remembers us dies too. And that, my friend, is why so many of us choose to have children. We have children not to propagate the race or to continue the inhabitation of the world. We have children to be remembered. Our will to make a mark that lasts on the world, beyond us. But part of us is strong and found in the DNA of the fetus clinging to life in the womb. So, these random 100 years or so where men and women hope to thrive, some of them making it only halfway or to 80% of the 100 years, it's all part of their extinction and their short time on Earth. And we do find a comforting predictability in that passing of time and in the testing of our reaction to decay. And decay is scientific and proven and all around us. Decay is everything we touch. Everything we know is on its way down and out. Our bodies fail and decay from the first impetus. The first heartbeat is no different than the last heartbeat. Until it is. And so, in that predictable human passing of time and in the testing of the limits of human life, we want to extend our stay as long as possible. But only as long as we are alert and mobile and of our mind. We have a lot of requirements. And we have romanticized this passing of time, these 100 years, when time should really and truly terrify us. Terrify us because every day is a stopwatch ticking the end of days. Every evening is a timer counting down to our ultimate nil. And yet, in this daily survival, we hope to find a connection, to not die alone, to go against the grave, and to find warmth and companionship in the essence of the everyday dwelling. And then the simple things begin to take shape within us and mark importance without us. And the simple act of walking and eating and bathing take on great resonance as we age and begin to lose control of what used to be an innate existence. And so we become sorrowful for what we have lost, together and apart. And we woefully remember how we didn't know how good we really had it. Back then. Back when we were young and unafraid and too stupid to know how precious our life is. And how we only have one body. And how we are not always the greatest caretakers of the one and only vessel that matters to us, which is the me. And sure, As I argued in our Carrion in the Coffin Human Meme podcast, we are not our bodies. We are our essences of belief and the traces of the faith of us that we leave behind in the wind. And it all takes shape and grows without us long after our last breath has been captured. And so, my friend, in this expanse of time, this 100-year blink of an eye, from crib to coffin, what do we make of this life? How do we choose to define what becomes us? Are we passive? Are we criminal? Are we assertive? Where do we draw the line between immortality and living a moral life? Because the want to live forever is the ultimate and most selfish sin we could ever propagate against our fellowship. But deep within the reservoirs of us, that's what we really want. We want to learn and to see and to live and to love and to know new things without it ever ending in disappointment or pain or dying. And all of that is another marker called in against the human life. We only have so many days to get everything done. And then some, and then too many of us just waste the day in a 9-to-5 loop without any reflection or resonance to be heard or felt or found. And that's the way our overlords want it. They want us working for them, living for them, dying for the city. While they know how much better than the us of us to use the profits of our lives for their own private benefit. And we who do not care to know any better cannot blame them for seeding an opportunity within us for exploitation and making our lives their own. And then, only if we're lucky, fortunate, and prepared, there comes a moment for rebellion, a time for the standing up against the urges and the mandates of overlords, in order to define and claim our own life. But what do we wish? What are our wants? Have we ever asked our parents about their dreams? What did those who stood before us wish to become when they were our age? And then when did reality settle into them, living a life of safety and conformity, all to get along, to go along, all instead of going out and burning down the world to renew the all of us all over again? So the arc of our life is short, but it feels forever and empty as we cross the timelines of our lives from above. And before we know it, we're ending, finished, landed and cold on the steel table, waiting our final washdown before we're forever put down. And it is in that final reckoning that we hope to become self-aware, to admit that we failed more than we won, that we hated more than we cared, that we preferred the darkness of absolution over the light of knowing. Because confession is good for the soul, but terrible for the well-being of mind. Because we cannot hide from our disappointments or our discouragements. And so we are left there hanging in the abyss, trying to find meaning in evaluation. And we wonder, one last time, what it really felt like to live, to be carefree and easy with the wind in our ears and the sun on our faces. And as we are lowered into the fatal falling, we begin to know, in the final facing, that it was enough to be loved for a moment and to be warm for an instant. And in the snap of our fingers, we started and began and became forgotten. And it's all right and acceptable a little bit to understand that the miracle of life is misunderstanding and a riddle and a conundrum that never makes sense, only sensation. And we find recollection in the collecting of regrets that begin to amount to just a little bit of wisdom and learning that may be internalized to feed the earth for the next century of living. The next 100 years that will continue on us, above us, and around us. And we know we planted a stake in a life that mattered beyond the bounds of human understanding. And there, in the dimming mist, is the motion of us, the us of us, flinging every last hope and dream against the sky, to ricochet into galaxies and into the heavens beyond us, all in the hope that it all might just allow us to find a rocky purchase for the payment of a second century of living. Somewhere we have yet to explain or explore. Thank you for listening. Be a human meme.